The 49ers news just keeps getting better. I'm going to be talking to you today about updates and things like that. But man, there's some footage. You've got to see it to believe it. We're going to detail why some of these updates are particularly important right now. And we're going to close out the video with a setup that's fixing to be very much in the favor of the 49ers. 2 nights ago, my kids are in bed. The Northern Lights are happening, and I can see them outside my house. I've never seen them in my entire life. So excited. My wife and I grab the kids. We throw them in the car. We drive out to a farm road so we can see the Northern Lights. It's glowing, right? That's the kind of news that we've got today. It's glowing. I can't wait to talk to you about it. Hit subscribe if you're looking for 49ers content like this. Appreciate you guys. You're awesome. Let's start with a question that I've been waiting to ask you for so long. It feels so good today, but things are really trending for Ricky Pearsall to play on Sunday, knock on wood. How are you guys feeling about that? How important is that? Later in the video, we're going to talk about why that is massively important for the 49ers and a few really clear statistics about what we've been missing without Ricky Pearsall that I think is going to make this even more important, plus footage you got to see to believe. So stick around for that. Let me know in the comments how you're feeling about Ricky Pearsall's availability. Before we get to Ricky Pearsall's availability, however, we got to talk about another guy's availability, and that starts with a different reinforcement, okay? And his name is Brock Purdy. You might know him. You might remember a time when he took us to the Super Bowl, and Brock stinking Purdy is trending in the right direction to start on Sunday. Based on the early portion of 49ers practice, it indeed looks as if the 49ers are preparing Brock Purdy to return to the starting role Sunday at the Cardinals. Amazing, right? I got some footage for you, too, on this one. So, Brock Purdy, if you didn't listen to Kyle Shanahan, I listen to him all the time, and I was listening to his press conference as I was driving. I had a work thing late last night, so I was listening to it on the drive over. And literally, like, the way that Kyle Shanahan talked about it was really fascinating with him and Ricky Pearsall in a way. It was the way that he talked about that word limited as a designation and what the rules state and how that applies here. Because basically Matt Maiocco, brilliant. Matt, so good. He asks the question that everyone wants to know about Brock Purdy's availability and kind of his chances to start this weekend, that kind of thing. And just a standard question. But his follow-up to Kyle Shanahan is, now, you've said in the past that a certain level has to be reached, a certain intensity has to be reached every single day of the week before he's going to go on Sunday. And so will he be at that intensity today since he's limited, right? And Kyle Shanahan basically said the fact that he's limited is only because in the rules, he has to have it limited unless he is 100% doing everything that everybody else would be doing. In other words, Brock Purdy was having a intense practice. Brock Purdy was with the ones. Brock Purdy was doing everything that it appeared a first-team quarterback who's going to start on Sunday would be doing on a Wednesday. And the main, there's just some minor details that don't quite line up with him being a full participant. So all of that being said, man, this is huge. This is huge. Brock Purdy, this video courtesy of the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, look at that. Whew, beautiful. Love to see the connection between Brock Purdy and George Kittle, of course. And you know, we've done some footage throughout the last few weeks of here and there of Brock Purdy throwing the football and his footwork and how things are looking. And I'm not going to act like I'm a genius and I can break down every little aspect of what I'm seeing here. But the question, of course, becomes if he's practicing like he's going to start, do you start him? And a lot of people have been asking that question. I've been avoiding that on the channel for the most part. We hit it maybe like twice a week as like a side note, as a side quest. But, you know, for obvious reasons, primarily just because I feel like people get really tired of that same narrative being spewed out. Same thing last year I did on the channel with the Brandon Aiyuk stuff. I just felt like, dude, we could talk about Brandon Aiyuk every day, but why? There's not a whole lot of new information coming out. Let's just cover the new information when it comes out, right? Here's what Mark Schlereth thinks about whether or not Brock Purdy should start and what it means for the teams. Pay attention to how he answers this question. This is fascinating. If Brock Purdy is healthy and there is no further risk of injury, I would go back to Brock because he gives that element of athleticism and escapability. We've talked about that. Agreed. Your more dynamic offense is currently constructed with the players that you have if you go back to Brock Purdy. Things that you have to contend with as a defense that Mac Jones doesn't have. So Schler is taking the perspective. The stink is taking the perspective of how the other side of the football is going to feel playing against your offense. And that's a smart way to think about it. I don't know why I don't hear this more often. I like to listen to the radio and sports talk and stuff like that. I don't hear this narrative very often, but makes a lot of sense. At the end of the day, what do you want from your offense? You want your offense to be difficult to diagnose for a defense. And we literally just yesterday, we played audio, or maybe 2 days ago, of Nick Rawlis talking about defensive coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals, talking about how difficult it is to scheme and to prepare for Kyle Shanahan's offense, and how you start behind the eight ball from the very beginning, that you're already behind as the week begins because there's so much to try and do and so much to try and figure out. And basically he walks out of a coach's meeting and says, like, good luck, guys. I hope you can find something good. Like that's basically what he said. So, yeah, I think this makes a lot of sense from Stink. Think about how Brock Purdy changes the way that your defense has to scheme against him. I love that. Brilliant take, and I agree with it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about that for sure. But let's talk about this other reinforcement, which is Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall, firstly, I think I got a video here. Dude, after this, I got a video, and he looks unbelievable. Unbelievable. Ricky Pearsall, man, we need to keep him healthy because he's such a good player. Okay, Brock Purdy looks like he's in line to start on Sunday. Ricky Pearsall looks sharp and fast, and no Alfred Collins at the start of practice. He was mostly working out on the side field. Possible he joins the session later. So, Alfred Collins might be a questionable this week, but it's pretty early still. Usually by Friday, we have a pretty good feel on what is going to happen with Alfred Collins. We definitely could have used him. We needed him on Sunday. I know that's kind of crazy to say for a rookie. We needed him on Sunday. Okay, Rookie Pearsall, though, looking sharp, looking fast. Those are the words that Matt Barrows chose to use, and here's a look at it. My word. Ricky Pearsall runs some of the slick Rick as they call him, some of the slickest routes, man. So clean. The way he attacks the ground is unbelievable to me. Anytime I see him make a harsh cut like that, I always just feel like, dude, he runs like he's angry at the grass. Like he runs with so much fierce, like, intensity. And it just looks like he's angry at the grass. I don't know why. That's just how I think about it. But whatever. You guys tell me what you see when you watch the video. That's how I feel about it. Why is it so important for Ricky Pearsall to get back? I got two, kind of very interesting statistics. That one from SF Data Niners that popped up in my feed yesterday that I thought was really, really interesting. Look at the most impactful drops by receivers based on the delta in expected points due to drops. So basically what you think would have happened based on the moment and based on the yardage, okay? So like 3rd down and 10 or 3rd and 3 or whatever, right? So when you look at this, okay, looking at the EPA differential on the cost of drops, you can do what a lot of people do. Like even, the guy, I need to call this guy. I need to find this guy. The guy from SF Data Niners says most impactful drops by receivers, Deebo Samuel and Juwan Jennings shaking hands there. You can see them kind of toward the top below Marvin Harrison. You know why. You know why. But down there with Juwan Jennings there and Deebo Samuel, okay? The thing that sticks out to me isn't the number of drops or the expected points due to drops. What scares me is I'm seeing multiple 49ers on that page. This is the top 30 players, and I'm seeing three of them on the top 30, with Christian McCaffrey, Kendrick Bourne, and Juwan Jennings all on that list. But first, you know this better than anybody. Touchdowns change everything. One play, the whole game flips. And if you're watching football this season, why not feel like every single down is 4th and goal? I've teamed up with my partners over at DraftKings Sportsbook, the official place to go when you want to live bet and make every single touchdown count. DraftKings makes live betting simple and exciting. The odds move with the game, so when momentum swings, you're right there with it. You can even bet on the next touchdown happening right now. Whether it's a high-scoring shootout or a defensive slugfest, DraftKings has more live markets open more often than anywhere else. And you don't have to wait for kickoff. You can jump in mid-game and still catch incredible touchdown odds as they update in real time. So get in on the action and sign up using my promo code STSF. The crown is yours. Thank you so much to DraftKings Sportsbook for sponsoring this video. Does that not kind of freak you out a little bit? And I'm looking at, Ricky Pearsall coming back. I'm seeing the Jags have 2 on here. The 49ers have 3. The Broncos have 2. And the Broncos are one of the worst in the league, last I checked. I don't know what that updated stat would be today. The Commanders have a couple as well. I don't see any other teams on here, and maybe you got to look at it longer, but I don't see any other teams on here with 3. The 49ers have 3 different players contributing to their drops this year. And I'll give Christian McCaffrey a little bit of credit that I think most of those drops were really early, and I haven't seen him, the uncharacteristic stuff from CMC since then. But, they're impactful either way, okay? That being said, Ricky Pearsall, obviously not on the list. We'll take that as a benefit. But also, Ricky Pearsall this year so far, what we saw pre-injury, and he's been out for a while now, so, that could have some impact, but just looks so good. So good. Catching the ball in some really highly contested catches, that's fantastic stuff. You love to see it. Okay. I don't know here. There we go. Okay. Explosive play rates. We've talked about this stat as well lately. And, Ricky Pearsall is one of those guys this year that gave us some explosives when we didn't have any. And the 49ers have desperately needed him. And you've got George Kittle out there. You get Ricky Pearsall out there too. You get some other guys like, I'm not saying no to Kendrick Bourne, who's had some big plays for the 49ers this season. We need those other guys out there too. So you got Kendrick Bourne and Demarcus Robinson. I'd still love to see him improve. Juwan Jennings, of course, has been known to have some great plays and some great moments as a 49er. Absolutely. I'm not saying get rid of these guys, but I am saying, man, if we could have Ricky Pearsall back and you can put Juwan Jennings in that kind of classic third and Juwan role, I love that. I know everyone says they want to see Ricky Pearsall in the slot because of the way he runs, because of his size or whatever. But no, I think it would be fantastic if you have Ricky Pearsall as your wide receiver 1. I think it would be great if Juwan Jennings kind of moves into that secondary role that he excelled in so well before the injuries to Brandon Aiyuk, where in week 7 or week 6 on. And it wasn't immediate. It was like a week or 2 after his injury that Juwan Jennings ended up being your X receiver. But whatever. The point for me, in my opinion, is this is something that Ricky Pearsall and Brock Purdy too, on that, to be fair, are 2 really critical elements to running Shanahan's offense the way that Shanahan wants to run his offense in order to have these explosive plays start happening more. They're getting better, right? The first part of the season, really, really bad. We've had some really good moments, and we just need to string it all together now. That's where I'm at. Let me know what you guys think on that, of course. But my goodness, we got to talk about one more thing, and I'll make it quick because we're already at 12 minutes here. But the 49ers, it's not about trying to get other teams to get injured so that you can have it easier. But you're not going to complain either when your opponent is down in the dumps. And my goodness, the news yesterday was unbelievable. I was working until 9 o'clock, so I couldn't do a video last night. But Marvin Harrison Jr. had surgery for appendicitis, out this week. Cardinals wide receiver Zay Jones tore his Achilles last Sunday versus the Seahawks. The banged-up Arizona Cardinals will have a walkthrough yesterday instead of a regular practice. That's crazy. That's the first time, says Matt Barrows. That's the first time you're seeing the injury narrative flip to the 49ers' favor. Now I'm gonna caveat that pretty big because I'm not totally I'm not throwing shade on Matt Barrows, but I'm going to caveat that really big in a second. I hope you're sitting down for this. The 49ers have fewer players on their practice participation report than their opponent, the first time that's been the case this season. So that's amazing. This is huge. We have desperately needed this kind of news for a long time. The 49ers need more guys healthy, right? The only thing I'll throw out there as like a caveat to this, okay, is, this is not against Matt Barrows. These players, this is the practice report, right? These are the players that are practicing. So the big caveat is obviously this isn't including your IR players. So this doesn't include. You got to remember in the back of your mind, oh, yeah, Brandon Aiyuk's still out. Oh, yeah, Mykel Williams, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, all still out, right? You have to keep that in the back of your mind because, like, you look at that and, oh, look, yeah, ooh, okay, things are looking up. Don't forget, we're still very much just like before the roster's even constructed. We're working from a much deeper injury position, but I will take it. The only thing I'm disappointed with on the injuries is I was kind of hoping Marvin Harrison Jr. would play and drop the ball a bunch again. Like when it was thrown right to him and hit him in the hands and he dropped it. Like those kinds of drops just make you feel good as a fan, right? It just gives you something to laugh at. But, I'm joking. The guy's a great player, even though he's had some drops. And I definitely will say that there's a benefit to not having to face some of those guys. I think there's a risk, too. Like, you got to be careful. Who was it? Was it Tampa Bay, man? Tampa Bay, was it Tez Johnson or something? Like, Tampa Bay had wide receivers down, and these other wide receivers just stepped up massively. And in some ways, because of Marvin Harrison's drops, maybe there's a risk there, right? Where somebody comes in and they're hot and they're catching the ball like crazy. They're taking their opportunity. But we'll see. Anyway, we're 3 days away from the Cardinals game, and things are shaping up really, really nice. Things are getting better for the 49ers in big, big ways, and I'm really excited. It could not come at a better time with the next 4 games in front of us, the next 7 games in total. The 49ers desperately, desperately need this team to get healthy. With whoever they can get healthy, obviously, guys who are not on IR, and they need to start like turning this thing around. They're very close. They're winning games. Like, this is a good team. This can be a really good team, but they've got to start putting some things together to round out the performance, because the performance has not been quite to the level they're capable of, for sure. I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your Thursday.